relationships are brutal. Isn't love just the most amazing, phenomenal, incredible, painful, challenging, wonderful thing ever? It's definitely been that in my life and continues to be that in my life. And I don't think I'm the only one. I know Tony Robbins always says, love is the place where you will grow the most, where you will find the most fulfillment, where you will find the most strength. But it is also incredibly challenging. But man, is it worth it? Welcome to Reclaim Your Power as an HSP, a highly sensitive person. And today, a couple of days before Valentine's Day, I figured we would talk about love. And I have, gosh, such a great guide laid out for you of like all the things that HSPs really struggle with in love. And we'll get to it, and I'll definitely give it to you as a bonus, as a Valentine's gift from me. But more than anything, what I want to do today, I figured what would be, I don't know, even more interesting, hopefully for you, even more helpful to know that you might not be the only one, and maybe also for you to get to know me a little bit better, because love has been a huge driving force in my life. So I figured for today's podcast in Reclaim Your Power as an HSP, I would talk about the 10 things that I have learned from my love relationships. Ooh, there were probably more than that, but I went through my major relationships in my life and kind of looked at what did I learn from that relationship, because I deeply believe that we are not with our partner. We don't pick our partners by chance. We don't just randomly get together. I believe we find the perfect match that we need in the moment. I really do. I believe that this person gives us exactly the challenge, gives us exactly those triggers that we need in that time of our lives in order to grow, in order to learn more about ourselves, right? I really believe that love and love relationships comes back around to learning about yourself, learning to love yourself even more deeply, learning to shed those layers of protection and mud that we have kind of dawned on, that we have layered on through our lives, right? In order to get back to the beauty that's within, right? If you believe in this concept of we are all one, I believe relationships, more than anything else in your life, have the power to get you back to oneness, to wholeness, to who you really are. So ask yourself this: why does it feel so good when you are in love? Why does it feel so good? What is it about being in love? Like so many times when is it just me who loves that initial honeymoon phase? I love being in love. There was a time in my life where I considered maybe I should just jump from one relationship to another and just enjoy that honeymoon phase and just enjoy that period of intense feeling of being in love. But of course, if you've had a longer relationship, you know that there are also incredible gems when you're with someone together for a longer period of time, because you build a trust and a foundation and a knowing of each other that really can hardly compare. And then you can still put the effort in order to have those little moments and days of spark and intense energy and feeling of that honeymoon phase, right? That is absolutely possible. But, they each have their charm. But yes, why do you think it feels so good, this intense period of being in love? Because initially I feel like it's so much easier to just be in that space. I believe it feels so good because you are just enveloped, completely taken up by this vibration of love. You are streaming love. This is always so important for me to remember, is that it's not necessarily that there's love, so much love coming from the outside into me, from somebody else, from my partner, but it's more than that. It's me connecting from the inside out, me connecting to that vibration of love, me choosing to elevate to that frequency of love and hanging out there. And that is why it feels so incredible. And that is something you can actually choose in any moment, right? We can choose our emotion, we can choose our vibration, we can choose our frequency. But for now, let's take a little tour, a little fun ride through my past relationships, the big ones, and look at what I have learned as a highly sensitive person. And I didn't find out that I was a highly sensitive person until just this last partner that I am together with now. Before then, I didn't even know I was a highly sensitive. So it is amazing to see how I navigated through these relationships, really more bumbled my way through, right? There's so many things that I could have done so much better in these relationships. And I'm hoping that I have served those partners in the past well to where he, also got the part that he needed from that. So let's start. Of course, I've changed all the names. I might not even mention names. That first love relationship that I was in, oh my gosh, I was 17 and just so incredibly in love. It was a challenging relationship because it was long distance, right? I'm here in the US, he was in Germany, but that was an incredible love affair, romance. And when you're that age and older people look at you and they're like, enjoy, it won't last. It's not like this is your forever. And you hate hearing it. And so I'm so careful to never say that to my friends or anybody that I see who's just in love in that age. Because you never know. Some people do stay with that partner, their high school sweetheart. And also, and more importantly, enjoy it. Enjoy every moment of it. One of the most important things I learned from that relationship is really to be in the moment, to be present, to enjoy those moments deeply, completely. Because even to this day, years and many decades later, I think of particular moments I had with this guy, and they fill me. They fill me with so much love and so much happiness and so much. It's like a reminder of how beautiful life can be, of how simple life can be, of how you don't really need more than just one other person in a beautiful moment in order to feel amazing. It really helps me to reconnect to that emotion of deep love, right? That innocent love, that standing together under a starry night and looking up and you feel like nothing else exists outside of just the two of you in that moment. Enjoy those moments. The other thing I learned from that relationship was that it does take more than love. Now, I always hated hearing that because I was like, no, love is so amazing. Love is so great. It is, but it also requires timing. It also requires for both people to be in a place where they can and want to work on a deep connection, right? It takes more than just that deep feeling of passion and love and caring for each other. It really takes that you are, maybe it takes a soul contract. Maybe it takes that you're really working on the same things at the same time. Maybe it really takes that dance that you need in the moment. So it does take more than love. It takes that commitment. It takes that timing. It takes that maybe fate. I don't know. It takes more. That's what I know. For my next relationship, I learned, this next lesson was a good one too. I learned not to abandon myself because I even remember writing this guy, and this is after we've been on and off for like 3 years. And I remember writing him a letter. I had just come to visit him. He had moved away to a different state, luckily in the US, and I had just come to visit him, and we weren't quite like meshing. We weren't quite connecting, and I was just about to leave again that afternoon, evening on a plane, and I wrote him this letter, and I was like, if you can just tell me what you need, then I can be that and we can be happy. And it didn't even dawn on me in that moment. It dawned on me much later, a few months or maybe even years after that relationship ended, that what I was doing was completely abandoning myself because I was so afraid of getting rejected or abandoned for who I truly am, that I was just trying to be whoever he needed me to be so that I could feel loved, right? So he would I was trying to make it as easy as possible for him to love me, to ensure that I would be loved, right? To keep that honeymoon feeling of love going. Because initially it's always easy to be loved, right? You might even be bold in the beginning of the relationship and really bring out who you are. And you're like, okay, if you don't like this, too bad, we're not meant for each other. But then as you get deeper connected, you start to bring in that fear of, what if I lose this person? What if he rejects me? What if he abandons me? And more and more and more, you tend to, or at least I did, close those things off that you saw he didn't like, right? It's like I always presented myself from the best, most lovable face of mine, position of mine, right? Angle of mine. This is who I am. And also learning, what is he like? Who can I be in order to be deeply loved by him? But it is a slippery slope, because even if you succeed, which I did for sure, there comes a point in time where you feel empty, because you're like, well, this person I created for him is loved, but that's not truly me. I have these other sides. I have this other passion. I have this totally other personality of mine who I am afraid to show because I'm afraid to be rejected. He won't like it and he will leave. And then you start to feel that love that he's giving you starts to feel lacking. It doesn't feel as great anymore because you don't feel like you're truly loved for who you are, which how can he if you're never showing him that, right? So that was a big, big lesson that I learned. Not to ask, who can I be for you? Sure, it's wonderful to figure out how to meet your partner's needs. More about that later. But it's so much about finding out who you are, loving who you are, embracing yourself for who you are, even the parts that are hard to love. And then when you find somebody who is willing to, eager to, excited to love you, even and despite and with those flaws or characteristics that you don't think are lovable, man, does that feel good. That is incredible. The other thing I learned from this relationship, so now we're on number 4, right? The fourth thing that I learned was that, I have a deep need for feeling significant. Everybody has a need. It's one of the 6 human needs that we'll just talk about in just a second. One of the 6 human needs, as described by Tony Robbins, is this need to feel significant, particularly to your partner. You have to feel like you matter. I have to feel like I matter. Well, this guy continuously chose his family, particularly his mom, over me. And I truly had that feeling of, what if we ever have kids together and I'm at home with a screaming kid and his mom calls and he's like, sorry, gotta run. I felt like I would be second choice, which, man, that doesn't really feel so great. I feel like, especially as highly sensitives, as HSPs, we have a deep, deep need for feeling significant, especially to our partners, because we went through a childhood of not feeling so significant, feeling kind of called out because we felt different. We were different. Why does my sister, why does my brother, why does my friend not react so intensely to this particular thing? My parent is telling me, oh, why are you overreacting? Why are you so intense? Why are you so much? Why do you need so much more than your sibling does? Whatever it is. So we felt significant, but in a bad way, right? We were called out in a bad way, and we want to feel like even though we're different, we are special in our own way, right? I feel like everybody wants to feel special in a certain way, but particularly as an HSP, we want to feel like we also have a place in this universe, on this earth, that we're not wrong, that we're not broken, that there isn't anything wrong with us, that we have a place in this world to exist, right? Our need for significance, our need to know that we can contribute something to this world. I'll quickly mention the 6 human needs since I think it is important. The first need is the need for safety and security and certainty, which we also have a lot as HSPs because our nervous system is so much more easily overstimulated that it's so important to have that need for that certainty. I know where I can energize again, where I can decompress, where I can have a quiet place. Second need is for uncertainty, for adventure. Third need is for significance. Fourth need is for love and connection. The fifth need is growth. And the sixth need is contribution. We all want to contribute. That's why we feel so good when we can help somebody else, right? The fifth thing that I learned still with this guy, and that was an incredible moment that I had because we had been off again and on again. And I don't know if you've ever done that in a relationship where you just couldn't figure out, am I supposed to be with this guy or not be with this guy? And we would take a break. And then anytime we weren't together for like 2, 3, 4 days and none of that outside love was coming in, none of that feeling from him was coming in, then I was like missing it, craving it, needing it, and feeling alone without it, right? So then I would connect with him again and be with him again. And it's like, there's never anything better than the moment you make up, the moment you decide to like, yes, let's be together, because you get so much affirmation and reassurance. Yes, I love you. Yes, I want to be with you. Yes, you're the one I want to be with. And that, I didn't even realize, that is what I craved so much. And I didn't have the tools yet to understand that that is what I needed, because otherwise I would be able to like voice that to my partner and figure out a way for us to build that into our relationship rather than having to subconsciously pick a fight in order to then make up, in order to then feel that connection and love again, right? So that fifth point I wrote down, choose love over fear, right? Choose love over fear. Because let me tell you about this moment that I had, right? I was trying to decide, do I want to be with this guy? Do I not want to be with this guy? Also, all this was happening in my own mind and in my own journals. I don't think I ever went to this guy and we had a deep conversation over what works for me in this relationship and what doesn't, what my fears are in the relationship and what they would say about the future together, right? So I was at a red light. I know exactly where it was, right? These deep emotional moments you remember, you form a memory around. I was at a red light and I was kind of deciding, okay, I'll just be with him. And my next thought was, in my next life, I'll get that incredible love that I'm looking for. And that was like, whoa, okay, big light bulb. I guess he's not the one, because I'm not going to wait an entire lifetime. I'm not just going to go by, haphazardly in this lifetime in order to wait for the next one to have this great, incredible, extraordinary love life that I'm seeking. So that was my answer, right? It's like, I had this feeling of, I'll just wait till next time. It's like, no, I can create this. And I guess he's not the right one. So choosing love over fear, right? Even though in the moment that was a very hard decision because we could have kept it going. There were definitely plenty of good things about this relationship, but I knew it wasn't going to get me where I really wanted to go with a partner. So, enters the next relationship. That was also kind of a whirlwind. We got together when I was really in a place of feeling really good about myself, feeling really strong, really excited that I was on my own and that I was confident. And I had just done a lot of work on myself and with manifestation work and with Abraham Hicks, and I was feeling so good and confident about myself. And here I go, attracting this next partner who was actually, our connection was Abraham Hicks and a friend of ours who was also into Abraham Hicks, which was interesting. And he comes into my life. We have this whirlwind romance. He lived in Houston. I lived here in Austin. And so we would only see each other like every other weekend or so. And when he was with me, he was so present. We would do these romantic things like having, a wonderful walk and then having a picnic in the park, and we would just spend so much time with each other. He never even had his phone on him. He would just leave it in the car. He was just fully present with me, which was incredible after the last relationship that I had where we couldn't even get through dinner without my guy constantly looking at his phone, right? So it was just so refreshing. But come to find out, it was kind of more of a weekend romance, right? He was able to do that because he didn't have to be that every single day. He kind of lived his life and saved up all that energy to be like, okay, now I can be present for her. Well, he ended up moving to California, and our conversation went something like, in a perfect world, this is what he said to me, in a perfect world, you'd come with me. Well, guess what my inner romantic went? It was like, of course I will, right? And so somehow we decided, okay, I'm going to move with him, which I had decided I wanted to move to the beach anyway. I thought it was going to be Florida, but hey, he said California. I was like, Cali? Yeah, I'll come. Woo, was that the beginning of the hardest time of my life, but also the most growth and just that solidifying of my own confidence right from the beginning. This relationship really challenged me to be confident, to stand up for myself. As soon as I moved to California, right, he had gone ahead like 6 months at a time, already gotten the apartment. He was just waiting for me. As soon as I got there, he completely rejected me on all levels, emotional, physical. He wouldn't even sleep in the same bed with me. He would sleep on the couch. Basically, on day 2, he goes, I have fallen out of love with you, but I'm willing to stick around for a while to see if it comes back, right? Except for not really putting any effort into like figuring out how to get it back. Man, was that a rough time. And of course, for me, I was like, I can't go back to Austin. I just like told all my clients and all my friends and all my family, particularly my dad, who was like, I don't think that's a good idea, Christine. I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll make it work no matter what happens. Well, now I was at a point where it's like the worst possible thing had happened, and I felt utterly alone without knowing a soul, where I had just moved to a very new place, very different people, very hard energy in the midst of Los Angeles. So yeah, lots of growth. So number 6, the thing I learned was, do I love to fall in love with potential? Like, God, you see something in this guy and you're just like, man, he could be so great. He wants to work on this and this and this. He wants to be this kind of guy. He wants to make this kind of life. But are they actually taking the action steps towards it? Are they actually working on it? Are they willing to do what it takes to get there? I think I really met this guy in a time in his life where he had decided he was just going to try on being this different guy and just, reaching but then not following up with it. And then I think for both of us, once again, it was a beautiful, beautiful moment of growth, hopefully for him too. I have not kept in touch, and neither did he. It was a very painful time of both of our lives, but I learned so much, and more than anything, I had to rebuild my own confidence from the ground up. I mean, one of the big things, if you have ever been sexually rejected as a woman, wow, I had no idea it would be this painful, because you're thinking the one thing every guy wants, the one thing that's always like kind of like your power card, your bargaining chip, you're like, haha, gotcha. You know, your I can make you do something would be sex, right? It's like, if I just offer him sex, he'll come around. Once they reject that, you feel utterly powerless. You feel like you don't have anything to give. And that was a beautiful gift, because I had to rebuild my own confidence, my own self-worth from the ground up. And if you're in a similar situation, I did it, you can do it. And gosh, there's a whole other world on the other side of that. And that's already number 7, right? Find your confidence, because that confidence and self-worth trumps that fear of abandonment anytime. It really, I mean, sure, I can't say I never have that fear of abandonment again. It just came up yesterday with my boyfriend, my current boyfriend, right? It's like, will always be possible. This great lesson, I'll digress a little bit, great lesson that I have learned from personal growth. There's always more to learn. There's always more to grow. And we're never done with a particular subject, because it will always exist. That low frequency will always exist, but it is your choice if you want to hook into that or not. And even if you accidentally did because you're in a low state, it's okay. You can recognize it as that, not be down on yourself and be like, I did it again. Why can I never learn? No, just to be like, whoa, okay, I haven't hooked into that frequency in a while. I don't really like it. I'm going to choose something different. You can do that. And it is amazing when you're like, when you stop just self-placating, self-blaming, and just going, I can choose something different. So yeah, once I finally had put myself back together, it took me, I moved right at New Year's Day. Well, New Year's, like a day before New Year's is when I moved. And then it took until about May, and he had still not decided. He had given me an incredible, wonderful birthday on my 33rd birthday in March, and I was like, oh my God, he does still love me. There is still something there, but that was just a single day that he wanted to make special for me. Next day, he went back to just distant, whatever. And it still took me until May, until I was finally at a point where I put him in front of the decision. I was like, we decide now, here and now. Are we gonna try to work on this and actually make it work, or are you done? And he said, he's done. And I cried for about an hour, and after that, I had already processed everything for the past 5 months. I was ready to move on. I was so strong. I was ready. I was ready. I was ready to move on. I was ready to take everything that I had learned and just catapult myself into the next phase of my life. And here comes the next guy. Well, it took about 6-7 months or so, although there were a couple of things in between. I'm a lover. I love to love, especially in that time of my life. I needed that deep sense of love in my life, and I would fall in love quickly. But the next significant guy that I fell in love with was so funny, because it was really, I was like, no, definitely not that guy. I'm definitely not going to choose that guy. Nope, I have absolutely no interest. And then, of course, it comes around to like, this guy, course, the universe knew exactly what I needed. And that was, another just deep, deep love affair in terms of, I still don't know what so deeply, emotionally, sexually, chemically drew me to this guy, right? Which, come lesson number, I'm gonna go out of order, number 9, that deep emotional sexual attraction, this feeling that you've always known each other, the feeling that you're deeply meant to be together. I remember driving to his house at night so many times, just like so giddy inside, just could not wait just to be in his presence. I was just, everything inside me wanted to be with this guy, right? Wow. Fast forward to us having the thinking that we were having a baby together, and then me having a miscarriage at 12 weeks, and wow, moving in together for like 3 weeks, and then him saying, oh hey, I'm still in love with my ex-fiance, right? Wow. A lot of pain, a lot of turbulence. I learned that deep lesson of it takes so much more than just that feeling that you're meant to be together. It takes that decision. It takes that willingness from both partners to want to work on a relationship, to want to be together. Wow. And when you have that, I finally have that with my current partner, which I have never felt in this way ever before with anyone else. That desire from both parts, and not just like the talk that's cheap, but actually showing up and doing the work when it's hard, when it really matters, when you feel triggered, when you feel like this is hard, still showing up to do the work, to reconnect, to find each other again, to be vulnerable with each other. That is what it takes from both sides. You cannot do it. So many times in a relationship, I was like, if I give 200%, all he has to do is just be there. Well, he still has to be there. He still has to decide, show up, but it's never going to work. You have to find somebody who is willing to meet you halfway. So incredibly important. Okay, let's get back on track. We just said number 9 was, even if you have a great emotional and sexual attraction and connection, that does not guarantee the success of a relationship, right? It takes that commitment. On the heels of that, number 8. This is one that is, it's something that can really help you. Well, I mean, they all can, but this one is really helpful, particularly when you are trying to end a relationship and you can't seem to get away from this person. You can't seem to stick with that decision to stay away from this person. Maybe particularly if you are a person like me who is very touch oriented, right? One of my 5 love languages, probably the most important one on the top, is that physical touch, that physical connection. And that was very strong between us, right? Just that laying in each other's arms, right? One of my favorite places and one of the easiest places for me to reconnect to myself, for me to calm down my nervous system, is when I'm laying on my partner's chest, right? I can hear his heartbeat. I'm laying on his chest and it's just like, he's got me, That is such an incredible feeling for me. So that is another lesson that I learned, right? Is making my partner my safe place, having that place where I can recharge, where I can feel safe, where I can feel nurtured. And I think we were both that for each other, right? He had gone through something incredibly turbulent. I didn't realize how recent it had been for him that he had just ended his relationship with his ex-fiance. I didn't realize that was only months ago, like 2 months before he got together with me, versus I thought it was at least 6 months or so. So there hadn't been a lot of processing time. And just about 3, 4 weeks into us knowing each other, his grandfather passed away, and who was really more like his dad than his granddad. And that was very, very painful. So he was in a period in his life where he needed that nurturing, that place to come home to, that place to feel safe, that place to just be healed, right? So we both had this safety, we both had this nurturing, right? For me, I had just gotten out of this terribly painful relationship of moving to a different state and being so ignored and so abandoned and rejected. So we were both coming from a place of pain and needing nurturing and healing and making each other our safe place, right? Which that in and of itself, I feel like is a good thing if you are aware of it and if you are able to then pull it back and also keep something on your own, right? Don't just make your only safe place and the only place where you can regulate your emotions, regulate your nervous system with your partner. You have to be able to do it on your own, right? Because there's so many times during the day where your partner isn't always going to be available for it. And you just have to be able to do it on your own, particularly when there is a rough time, when there is a challenge in your relationship, because you have to be able to self-regulate, right? Self-soothe. So it's wonderful to have that connection, that deep connection with your partner, but it's also important to do on your own. And I had filmed something a while back, like how to help you get out of a relationship when you know that this is the right time for you to end it. And so often we were drawn back. And this was one of the big points because we had made our partner our safe place, our biggest safe place, maybe our only safe place. And sure, of course, then all of a sudden, when you end it because you're in a strong place, and then you get into this place of sadness, depression, loneliness, and then you're like, where's my safe place? Where's my place to nurture and reconnect with myself and downregulate my nervous system, right? Such an important point. Which now brings me to our last point, really my last relationship and the last point. You'll never stop growing, right? And I feel like this has been my favorite work so far, although it's also hard in its own way because sometimes I feel like, oh, I've worked through those patterns. I'm good. I'm ready to move on. Every time you're in a relationship with a different person, with a new person, it's like you kind of have to figure out the dance. You have to figure out each other. You have to figure out, oh, there are new things that this person triggers, or maybe there are very old things that I thought I had managed that are now coming back up in this particular situation. So it's so wonderful for me to realize this. I'm never done growing. And even just reframing this as I'm growing, not I suck at it, right? I suck at relationships. Oh man, I'm so bad. Why can I never? Maybe I'm just not meant to be in a relationship, right? When I'm really down, when I'm having a really hard time, these are my inner thoughts, which I then change into, wait a second. This is an amazing opportunity to grow. Look at all the things I've already mastered. Look at all the things I've already gone through and grown through. This is an incredible opportunity for me to grow, for me to understand myself on an even deeper level, for me to get to know my partner on an even deeper level, and then to really work on that harmony, that being in sync, that truly getting to know each other, right? My current partner and I have been together for 5 years now, and there's still so much to learn about him, and he still has so much to learn about me. It's incredible how we still kept certain things a secret because we're still a little too shy to be vulnerable, to be truly open and vulnerable. And of course, you have to you have to put it out this way, right? Since then, I have had a kiddo, right? So this is my one and only relationship that I've had where a kid is involved, and he has 2 kids. So there's a lot going on and a lot more at stake. This isn't just about me. This is also about the family unit. This is also about my kid. What's best for us in the moment, right? So there's a lot more at stake. So when you're vulnerable, it's even harder to be vulnerable because you know you could lose so much more. And yet, every time you choose, or I choose, to be brave, to be bold, to put myself out there, to say, man, that really hurt, I have always been met with deeper understanding from him and deeper love from him. So really, what he's helping me to understand, which is such a beautiful gift, especially for a highly sensitive person, is I am lovable just the way I am, right? So many times he emphasizes, I love your emotions. I love your intensity. There's nothing wrong with that. You are incredibly lovable exactly for who you are. Wow, that is so nurturing for a highly sensitive and HSP to hear that. Oh, and then another thing I learned, or I'm still learning from this relationship, which is so interesting, right? Previously, with a lot of my previous relationships, it was always the guy who would shut down, stonewall, not talk. And I was always the one just like journaling and thinking in my head. And I'm like, I remember writing in my journal, I feel like I'm in front of this huge gate, right? I'm in this beautiful garden and we were in it together. And before I knew it, he just ditched me, went through those big old doors, and then just slammed them in my face. And I'm on the other end of it, right? I'm on the other side and I can't get in. I can't get through to him. I don't know. I can't feel him. I don't know where he is. I don't know what's going on for him. And that was always the hardest thing for me. Come to figure out in this relationship, I'm the one who's doing that. Whenever he triggers me, because like I said, different partner, different triggers, right? When he triggers me, my first reaction is that safety mechanism. Close down, shut up, don't say another word, figure myself out yet, which part of that is smart, right? Because I don't want to just like start throwing angry words at him. And I've told him that. I was like, this is really for your own good. And then he tells me the same thing I always used to tell my guys when they used to do that, right? He was like, I'd rather hear your angry words than to not hear anything, right? To be locked out, to be shut out of whatever is happening within you. So we are dancing that dance. We're figuring that out. How can I have a moment just to collect my thoughts, just to feel my own feelings, to know what's even going on within me? Because when I've had a little bit of time, and it doesn't usually take very long to process, I know exactly what happened. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what came up for me. But it's so interesting that it's like, we always say we are mirrored by our partners. And it's so funny that this is finally coming up where it's like, oh, maybe I'm the one who's stonewalling. Oh, maybe I'm the one who still has a little bit of commitment fear here and there. So neat. This is such a fun and incredible and challenging ride that I'm on, right? And then the last thing that I'm really learning in this relationship is to understand my own needs, right? That's another great thing, such an important thing, particularly for us highly sensitives, because from an early age on, we were met with resistance because we need it so much. We need it so intensely. So oftentimes, our parents would shut it down. Whoever it was would shut it down. It's like, God, I can't give anymore. Why do you need so much? Right? We kind of equate needing something with abandonment, with rejection, with getting less love, with getting anger, right? With receiving these things we don't want to receive. And so we've learned from an early age on to shut down our needs. And so often I'm so willing to understand my partner's needs so I can meet his needs. And I'm like, I don't need anything, right? I want to make it as easy as possible for him to love me so I don't have any needs. Well, guess what? Everybody has needs. And it's so much easier for your partner if you are able to voice what your needs are, because then he understands what he needs to do. He or she, they, whoever it is, your partner, your lover, your confidant, to understand how to please you, how to do something good for you, how to meet your needs for love, for significance, for certainty, right? Remember those 6 human needs? So it is vital. Some of the most important work that I do with my coaching clients, in my workshops, is to help highly sensitives understand, get back down to what is it that I need? What is it that I need for my day? What is it that I need in this relationship? What is it that I want from my lover? What is it that I deeply need in this particular moment? And that is something that I am even exploring in a deeper way with my partner right now. What is it that I need in the relationship? What is it that I need when we get triggered and have that blow up, have that challenging discussion, right? What do I need? Ah, all right, that wraps up our 10 points. I'm just about to give you a quick review because that was a lot to cover, but I hope it was as riveting to you as it was for me to kind of go back down memory lane and look at everything I've learned. And obviously, I invite you to take out your journal and write down your most significant relationships, right? Especially now around Valentine's Day. I don't know if you're single, if you're in a relationship, what your current status is, where you are in your love life, or feeling whole and worthy of love. But it's such a neat exercise to go back through your life and understand, when did I feel incredibly loved and what had to happen for it? Can I look at my past relationships and see what I've learned? What is being mirrored in my current relationship? Or if you're single, what can I learn so that I don't repeat it? I don't need it again in my next relationship. So powerful. And I want to give you a gift, right? A Valentine's gift, a gift where you can be like, okay, this is really valuable to me. And I wanted to make it quick, right? You have the quick version or you have the long version, whichever one you want. I should say the quick version or a more in-depth version, right? I'll type it up as a quick PDF for you so you can just hit those 10 points, because I'm going to give you, I think it's 10. Yeah, 10 things that HSPs struggle with the most in relationships. The big things that we struggle with. And when you read through these, right, I'm going to give you a quick PDF just with like bullet points. And then I have a whole nother video on it that'll, if you want to, you can watch, where it really goes into more depth, into more detail. The most important healing, the easiest healing that I have done is always by hearing stories, by hearing somebody else say it and explain it and go through it. And then your brain is like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Oh yeah, I've done that. Oh, this is why I am the way I am, right? That was the biggest thing when I found out about HSP, right? About being highly sensitive. It's like, oh, I don't have to feel incredibly broken for this trait. It's just my trait. It's the way that my brain is wired, and that is a beautiful thing, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples. I won't give you all 10 points. Got to leave a little something mystery. But we'll be talking about the fear of being too much, right? Too intense. Why HSPs often attract emotionally unavailable partners, difficulty setting boundaries, and then also feeling lonely in a relationship. Ooh, I've definitely been there. That was like one of the biggest fear, like finally being in a relationship and then all of a sudden feeling even more alone than I did before I was in a relationship, right? So let's wrap it up. Oh, by the way, I'll put the link below for that PDF that you can download if you want to know all the 10 points and how we highly sensitive struggle so much with love. But you can also just go to my website, healingyouremotions.com/love, and you can find that PDF. Okay, let's wrap it up. All right, here's our quick review of the 10 things that I have learned from love. One, it takes more than love, right? It takes commitment and timing and the willingness to really work on it. Number two, collect those perfect moments. You are allowed to love more than one person. I know that I have in my life. You are allowed to collect those beautiful moments so that you have those anchor points, those touch points to put yourself back into that vibration, that frequency of love. Collect those beautiful moments. Number three, I am lovable for who I am. You cannot be or try to become what someone else wants you to be. Figure out who you are. Deeply appreciate and understand and love yourself. And then, you'll attract incredible love. Number four, what needs do you have in a relationship? So important to know. Number five, choose love, not fear, right? Don't just stay in a relationship because it's easier or less painful than breaking up. Truly ask yourself, is this the best for my partner and for me to continue this relationship? Or have we learned everything we wanted to learn from each other? Because there's always more. And it's either together or not, right? Oh, yeah. And I wrote down there, love hurts and love heals, right? It'll be the deepest pain you'll ever be in, but it's also going to give you the highest highs, the most incredible, incredible feelings and moments. And it's worth it. And the more you do it, the more you realize it doesn't kill you. It just hurts really bad. But you're able to get over it. You're able to move on, right? That guy that I was so incredibly attracted to in LA that I had the miscarriage with, I did not think that I could ever get over him. And it took me a long time. It took me over a year, and it was really hard to come back from that. But I eventually did. And oh my gosh, my journal is filled with incredible insights and all the work that I did on myself that year. It was absolutely worth it. Incredibly painful. But I would do it again. For that growth, for that understanding, that depth, I would do it again. Number six, falling in love with the potential, right? Are you falling in love with the potential, or are you actually choosing the person for who he or she or they are in that moment, in that current time of what they're really creating and wanting to create in their own life? Number seven, confidence and self-worth always trumps that fear of abandonment, right? If you can work on, if you can make it the first order of business to work on your own self-confidence, your own self-worth, to find a way to deeply understand and appreciate and accept yourself for who you are, then you're not so scared of abandonment, of rejection anymore, because you know it might come up in the moment. Oh man, I'm not good enough for this relationship. But then quickly your mind is going to remind you, that's not true. Your heart will remind you, your soul will remind you, you are an incredible being, especially because of your high sensitivity. Not that we're better than everybody else, but we have some incredible traits. If you can learn to love them, if you can see the positive side of them, if you can play to the positive side of it, there's incredible depth and richness and beauty in that. Number 8, your safe place. How do you regulate your own nervous system? Can you make your partner your safe place? And can you have your own? Where is your own safe place? What is your own way of regulating your emotions, your nervous system? Number 9, deep sexual and emotional connection does not mean it's going to be a great connection, a great relationship, the one. And I tell you, I am a downright romantic. I love rom-coms. That's pretty much the only thing I watch. I'm always up for that. The one person, right? And I totally hope that my current partner is the one that I'll be with forevermore in this lifetime because we have a beautiful thing going. He's an incredible guy. And I would love that feeling of having somebody by my side to grow old with and who knows me from my 40s, from my late 30s, right? That would be incredible to have this person by my side. But I also know that I appreciate deeply all the relationships that I have had so far, and I have loved deeply more than just this one man. So I know that love is incredible, and I'm in it. I'm here for it. I'm willing to learn and grow, whichever direction that might take. And then number 10, speaking of growth, you'll never stop growing, and love relationships are one of the most beautiful, most challenging, most incredible way to get to know yourself, to get to know another person, to understand your place in the universe. So if you've gotten your heart smashed, I get it. I understand. Journal through it, process through it, work with your coach on it. Get yourself to the other side and get yourself into courage again, because it is always worth it. Love is always, always worth it. All right. Thank you so much for being here with me for this Valentine's episode of our podcast, Reclaim Your Power as an HSP. I wish you an amazing day, whether you spend it with your sweetie or you're by yourself. More power to you. And you know that you can create that deep feeling of love within you at any moment in time, no matter who you're with or not with in the moment. It all lays within you. You are beautiful, you are unique, and you have such an important role in this universe. We need you. So decide to uplift yourself to be in your beautiful space of love and light. Love you so much. I'll see you next time.